Welcome to the bold analysis. U.S. First Lady Jill Biden is expected to visit Kenya urgently on Wednesday, February 20th, 22nd, that is tomorrow, and she will be here until 26th February. And according to the information coming from the White House, is that the visit is aimed at strengthening the partnership between the United States and Africa. She's supposed to visit two countries. So it's Kenya and Namibia. She's coming at a time where we are talking about our local problems here. And that visit is politically having some message. I want us to look at that and kindly subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and also like our video. Thank you very much for those who are supporting us from different parts of the globe. Asanteni sana for the good work. Asanteni sana for your support. I don't take it for granted. Let's look at what is written here first before we make our own political projections. It will help to advance the areas of mutual interest in the region. Further, Jill's engagement is also supposed to focus on the empowerment of women and youth and the efforts to address food security. This will be her third visit to Kenya and first to Namibia, where she will also visit. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think is in her diary? I am speaking about this visit because she is the First Lady, United States of America, and she's coming at a time where our politics is high octane, where really we are asking ourselves questions. There are legitimacy issues on the legitimate questions, claims that are coming over from Raila Odinga wing. And quite the opposition believes that US are some of the Euro powers that did not sit comfortable with the candidature of Raila Odinga, or that lifted William RUTO to presidency. So, of course, some quick gains that you can see here is a bit of that legitimacy question. But I wanted to look at this meeting critically to see, just try to advance what you think is in Lady Jill Biden's diary when coming to this country. Behind the corridors, let me just tell you something is going on. That Kenya is planning to deploy, or rather to recall the US ambassador and replace, I think he's supposed, I think, to retire, if I'm not wrong. He's supposed to, I think he has finished his term. There was just an extension, if I'm not wrong. And the conversation is heated in the back room on whether the US, who is going to be the next US ambassador. That's normally, especially in the US, that is normally a very contentious issue, because that is going to be the linkage between the America and Kenya. And we'll have to look at it some other time, because the push and pull has been on who to be. And I want to believe that part of what might come out here is a deliberation on the next US ambassador. That would be on it. But then, let me pick it just from what I've seen in the diary. The US president in December hosted the African Leaders Summit in the US, and there was what they promised Africa in terms of malaria. I think it was it was on security, preventive health, food security, youth and women. So that money was supposed to be released bit by bit within 5 years, I think, if I'm not wrong, and it's supposed to be spread across the member countries in Africa. But then, now that the First Lady is coming, one thing I see in this meeting is she also should come to soften hostility on American projects in the country, or just to streamline what's working, what's not working there, especially in the areas of the youth and women, as the White House team are now making it clear. So these visits, I normally say they're normally very critical because it's an opportunity to engage different levels. We understand that, of course, with this, there is an advanced team and there is a delegation that is coming that will escort, or rather is going to accompany the First Lady, the US First Lady. That delegation includes government officials, development partners, and investors. It can also be an opportunity for high-profile table on investment, especially between the two member countries, and that will touch into different projects. I think so far the two projects that America is implementing here. One project so far in Nairobi is the Green City Hub, and there is also another one on health, the construction of some research hub in Kisii. That's where there is a coordination with the Kisii governor, Sibarati. So those are two giant projects they're implementing, apart from the others on tech and on health and other small sectors. But in terms of structural development of cities, they have a green hub that is supposed to be constructed here within. I think that's the project that Kenya Railways has been asked to cede part of their land so that it can be used for that project. So I also look at that as an opportunity to inspect what America is doing in Kenya. Two, this has to be related with the hunger that is ravaging Kenyan communities and even Africa. The issue of the hunger has been here with us for quite some time, and we know that there have been different interventions, and that is why in that diary there is something on food insecurity. Just the other day, the millers were saying they don't have cheap GMO maize. And remember, when Kenya lifted the ban, we were supposed to benefit from cheap GMO maize. They were going the price relative to those others around GMOs relatively to be affordable, but that has not been reached. So with the presence, the coming of the First Lady, at a time that discussion is also hot in the corridors, it can also be a point of trying to address this matter, and she's been dispatched to Kenya for matters related to this. Now, let me tell you, on over the weekend, our president was in Ethiopia, and she was chairing some climate change high-profile meeting. And he made a statement there that did not sit well with some of other development partners, especially from the Europe. He was saying that the Bretton Woods institutions that are giving us loans are actually exploiting us by exorbitant interest rates compared to the other development partners from the Europe North. Actually was saying that what was seen as hitting directly at the IMF, that while they give us also loans for development and other things, our interest rates are way higher compared to the Europe North. And he was making that in the context of the latest developments we've been having in terms of the Europe loans. So that could also have triggered this meeting, and it could be at the center of this, that is Kenya feeling the pinch of IMF, or is Kenya feeling the pinch of the Europe loans? And this would be also an opportunity to benchmark, or rather checkmate, with the Kenyan president on this side, whether when they made that statement, of course when RUTO made that statement, the one nation that was then laughing was China, because China and US are at a deadlock in terms of who is going to take over, or rather who is going to benefit more from the African resources. So That statement, being that it was coming from the president and president had a strong balance with them, could also indicate. I want to believe that you will meet President, the form for the First Lady, President William Ruto, and the other development partners in the country. The other thing, they're also laying the ground for the Biden tour, and now dispatching the First Lady is also just to assess for intelligence assessment in terms of what will be the reception, what will be the priorities for the Africa if the president is supposed to make a tour here. What are going to be the priorities or what is at stake in Africa? I want to believe it's going to be also an opportunity to test and know what Africa really needs. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's my take on what will be at disposal when the U.S. First Lady visits. But we're here, so from tomorrow we'll try to follow up on how about the events of the day.